Hi, welcome to our new episode of Absolutely Business Entrepreneur Stories. Second part of the history of LVMH. In this episode we will see the history of LVMH, one of the world's leading luxury goods conglomerates. The history of Moët Hennessy. Moët Hennessy, whose product lines include Christian Dior perfume, Dom Pérignon champagne, and Hennessy XO cognac, is a well-established and extremely successful French enterprise. What began as the business of a talented French vintner around 250 years ago became a world leader in the production of wines, spirits, cosmetics, and perfumes. Claude Moët considered the Champagne region east of Paris, in the Marne River Valley, to be an ideal location for wine production. He established a vineyard near Épernay but became frustrated dealing with the courtiers en vin, or distributors, who took his wine to market. Instead of depending on them to sell his wine, Moët decided to buy one of the offices of courtiers en vin and sell the wine himself. In 1743 Moët etc., Moët & Company, was formed. Joined by his son Claude Louis, Moët quickly established customer accounts which included a number of landed gentry and nobles. In 1750 father and son established an account with Madame du Pompadour, who regularly ordered Moët champagne for the royal court at Compiègne. That same year Moët began selling champagne in Germany, Spain, Eastern Europe, and America. Claude Moët died in 1792, leaving the company to his grandson Jean Remy, who laid the groundwork for the later success of Moët etc. He expanded the base of operations at Épernay by purchasing the vineyards of the Abbey of Hautevillers, where a century earlier the Benedictine monk Dom Pérignon perfected the double fermentation of wine to create champagne. However, it was Jean Remy's friendship with Napoleon that helped the company attract a loyal international following. Jean Remy became mayor of Épernay in 1802 and first met Napoleon 2 years later. Napoleon and his entourage were lavishly wined and dined by Jean Remy in newly built guest houses at the firm's address, 20 Avenue de Champagne. Champagne historian Patrick Forbes wrote of the period, "Everybody who was anybody in Europe was passing through the Champagne district en route from Paris to the Congress of Vienna and they all wanted to visit the celebrated champagne maker." His 10 years in the Napoleonic limelight had made him the most famous winemaker in the world, and orders for his champagne began pouring in with such profusion that he hardly knew how to fill them. Later, before abdicating, Napoleon rewarded Jean Remy for his generosity by giving him his own Officer's Cross of the Legion of Honor. Moët later dedicated its Brut Imperial in Napoleon's honor. Jean Remy's customer list in the early 19th century had grown to include such famous people as Tsar Alexander of Russia, Emperor Francis II of Austria, Napoleon's father-in-law, the Duke of Wellington, Madame de Staël, Queen Victoria, and the Prince Royal of Russia, later to become Emperor of Germany. In 1832 Jean Remy retired and relinquished direction of the company to his son Victor and son-in-law Pierre-Gabriel Chandon de Brielles. To reflect the new partnership, the company's name was changed to Moët et Chandon. Victor and Pierre expanded the firm's operations, and by 1879 Moët et Chandon dominated the Marne Valley with its introduction of more flavorful grapes from Cremant, Le Mesnil, Beauzy, and Verzenay. At this time Moët et Chandon employed close to 2,000 people working as cellarmen, cork cutters, clerks, vineyard farmers, tinsmiths, needlewomen, basket markers, firemen, packers, wheelwrights, and stable boys. The company had even established a social security system for employees, which included free medical attention, housing assistance, pensions, maternity benefits, sick pay, and free legal aid. Moët's average annual sales were believed to have been about 20,000 bottles during the 1820s. By 1872 that figure had risen to 2 million, and by 1880 it had reached 2.5 million. At the turn of the 20th century, Moët et Chandon's clientele remained primarily within the upper echelons of society. During World War I, bombs demolished the offices and guesthouses where Napoleon had dined. Despite the destruction, Moët et Chandon reaffirmed its place in the market in the late 1920s by creating the Dom Pérignon brand of vintage champagne. Described by connoisseurs as the most perfect champagne available, Dom Pérignon also became the most expensive. The introduction of Dom Pérignon initiated a trend other champagne houses later followed, that of creating a premium brand, which placed other regular vintages second in status. Dom Pérignon, however, emerged as the most successful premium champagne. Despite interruptions in its business during World War II, Moët de Chandon recovered quickly after the war, as a result of its prompt modernization of facilities. From the installation of new wine presses to a comprehensive system of work incentives, the goals of fairness and efficiency were emphasized in all aspects of production. Count Robert-Jean de Vogue, one of France's most important wine buyers in the mid-1950s, led the company to even greater success. Under de Vogue, Moët de Chandon experienced its most rapid period of growth to date, marked by its transformation from a family-owned venture into a société anonyme, or corporation. A series of acquisitions, mergers, and diversifications expanded the company's product line. Moët de Chandon gained control of Ruinart Paris de Fils, France's oldest champagne house and Moët's chief competitor, in 1962. The company acquired Mercier, another rival champagne house, in 1970, and soon thereafter purchased an interest in Parfait Christian Dior, marking the company's first undertaking outside the champagne business. Moët de Chandon later completed its takeover of Dior, whose perfume products include Miss Dior, Dior Essence, and Eau Savage. Moët de Chandon merged with Jazz, Hennessy and Company, France's second-largest cognac producer, in 1971. The new company, called Moët Hennessy, enjoyed a broader financial base and was better able to stimulate the growth of its interests abroad. The merger of Moët and Hennessy was brought about mainly as a result of a 1927 statute which limited the champagne growing region to 34,000 hectares. The statute was intended to protect the quality of French champagne by discouraging price competition. While less than 25,000 hectares were under cultivation in 1970, Robert-Jean de Vogue believed that growing demand for champagne would exhaust the supply of land by the year 2000. Until other regions suitable for champagne production could be found, de Vogue decided that diversification through a merger with Hennessy would ensure a stable future for Moët. Moët Hennessy established a firmer presence in the United States in 1973 when it opened the Domaine Chandon Winery in Napa Valley, California, a location which proved ideal for the production of sparkling wines. The production of sparkling wines at Domaine Chandon grew dramatically and enabled Moët Hennessy to expand in one of its most important foreign markets. The winery also reduced, somewhat, demand in North America for French champagne, whose production was still restricted by law. Alain Chevalier, a protégé of de Vogue, was chiefly responsible for the success of Domaine Chandon. He was named Chief Executive Officer in the mid-1970s and began transforming Moët Hennessy into a less conservative company with more aggressive marketing strategies. After de Vogue's death in 1976, Chevalier continued the diversification program started by his predecessor. In 1977, Moët Hennessy purchased the Roses companies in Portugal and France in an effort to raise demand for champagne. The following year, the company purchased Roc, a French cosmetics firm specializing in hypoallergenic makeup. The company also acquired Delbard, a French rose company, which was unable to continue financing the development of special new rose hybrids. The company also purchased Armstrong Nurseries of Ontario, California, the largest farmer of rosebushes in America. Moët Hennessy was trying to apply rosebush cloning techniques to grapevines in order to produce better hybrids. As a result of these acquisitions, Moët Hennessy became the world's leading producer of roses. Chevalier, who became president of Moët Hennessy in 1982, told Businessweek, "Roses are a commodity. We can make them a brand name like champagne." Losses incurred by both Roc and Armstrong, however, depressed Moët Hennessy's earnings. The introduction of a popular new perfume from Dior called Poison, however, helped offset those losses. Continuing its expansion in the United States, Moët Hennessy acquired its American sales agent, Schieffelin & Company, one of the oldest wine and spirit distributors in North America. Moët Hennessy was one of the first French companies to use European currency units, or ECUs, more stable in value against the dollar and therefore preferable for funding investments in the United States. By the late 1980s, Moët Hennessy had yet to realize fully an $11.7 million investment in research and development made during 1983 and 1984. Third part of the history of Louis Vuitton. Click here. Thanks for watching this story, and I hope you enjoyed the history of LVMH and its success attributed to the focus on quality, innovation, and craftsmanship, as well as its ability to adapt to changing consumer trends and market conditions. If you liked the video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to help this channel grow. Absolutely, inspiring business and entrepreneur stories. So, what's your story?